While the world is worried about the second corona wave, Great Britain is still struggling with leaving the EU. According to new bank analysis, the country is likely to muddle out of the Union without a real deal. It couldn't be more telling how the two Brexit negotiators expressed themselves after the latest, again unsuccessful, round. This week felt like we were going backwards, not forwards, said EU Representative Michel Barnier. His British counterpart David Frost in turn described a week full of useful discussions with little progress. The seventh round of talks has now led to nothing. According to Barnier, the negotiations failed because of the stubborn British. The British negotiators have again shown no will to move forward on the points that are crucial for the EU. Frost, on the other hand, stated that there was no progress because the EU insisted on agreement on a few key points. These are fishing rights and a fair level playing field for the economy. In concrete terms, European fishermen should also be allowed to fish in British waters, and the EU insists on the same rules for economic development and the same environmental and social standards. This is the only way to guarantee fair competition between British and European companies. Here the British remain adamant, although the suspicion is growing more and more that it is based on calculations from number 10 Downing Street. On the one hand, the government under Prime Minister Boris Johnson is speculating that the EU will make more concessions under time pressure. On the other hand, Johnson might well like a tough exit from the Confederation. Both ideologically and as an excuse for Britain's homegrown troubles, the hard Brexit could be useful to Johnson. In any case, time is running out. The next talks are to be held in London in the second week of September. Then there are barely 2 months left to agree on a deal. By October, Barnier reaffirmed after the most recent round, an agreement must be reached so that all parliaments can ratify the deal by the end of the year. Although Barnier emphasized once again that a deal is ultimately possible, some economists are no longer so sure. Callum Pickering from the private bank Berenberg now expects with a high probability that Great Britain will now muddle out of the EU without a real deal. In our base scenario, we see a 60% chance of a half-managed hard exit. That would mean that both sides would ultimately only agree on a few provisional measures to prevent a chaotic hard Brexit. Instead of a big cliff in which economic relations suddenly change from the domestic market to the much stricter rules of the World Trade Organization, the WTO, we expect a change in a series of small steps, says Berenberg economist Pickering. The tariffs on trade, which Britain could suddenly hit without a deal, are steep. As the British broadcaster BBC pointed out, most EU tariffs are comparatively low at 2.8%. Cars, for example, are subject to 10% duty under WTO rules, and tariffs on agricultural products are even significantly higher at 35% and more. Johnson's government wants to support foreign trade by completely abolishing some of the tariffs that were still levied as an EU member. According to the BBC, 47% instead of just 27% of all imports would be duty-free after the exit. However, according to the broadcaster, the EU is by far the country's most important trading partner, and a hard Brexit would end duty-free trade in one fell swoop. Economist Pickering only gives an exit with a deal a chance of 35%, while a chaotic hard Brexit only has a probability of 5%. After all, Pickering expects the British economy to continue to recover well as long as there is no chaotic hard Brexit. For a continued robust recovery from the COVID mega recession, it is enough if a chaotic exit is prevented, wrote Pickering. In this case, the economy would grow again by 7.2% after it slumped this year, in the next year then in 2021. The economists at the major Swiss bank UBS also expect a similarly high upswing. UBS economist Anna Titareva recently revised her forecast for 2021 upwards from 5.5 to 7.0% growth. However, after the record slump in the second quarter, they lowered their forecast for the current year from minus 9.4 to minus 10.1%. Berenberg economist Pickering, meanwhile, forecasts a GDP loss of 10.2% in the current year. It remains to be seen whether the British economy will really recover as strongly from its record slump in the coming year. Like Pickering, the UBS economist still sees the Brexit uncertainty as a risk factor. We will be on the lookout for any signs of progress at the next rounds of talks, emphasized Tariffs in her analysis. So it still depends a lot on how Great Britain ultimately leaves the EU, and so much depends on Boris Johnson's will. During a visit to Northern Ireland a week and a half ago, he said he wanted a deal with the EU. Negotiations so far indicate that this may be lip service or Johnson tactics until the very last second. And if you now want to know more about European politics, YouTube has chosen another of my videos right here for you in the end screen, right next to your chance to subscribe to my channel, which I hope you already did. I'll see you in my next video. Click and enjoy. Viel Spaß!